in the heart of India, where the dreams of the young Najib sparkled like stars in the night sky. He decided to gamble everything he had. He sold his house and possessions to obtain a work visa for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, believing that life there would grant him the opportunity to achieve his dreams. Accompanied by his friend Hakim, he arrived at Riyadh Airport, where the wait was bitter. Their sponsor was delayed, and in that critical moment, a Saudi man with stern features appeared, convincing them that he was their sponsor. He took them away from the airport towards the barren desert, leaving Hakim at a friend's farm while leading Najib to his own farm. Upon arrival, Najib was shocked to see an elderly Indian worker whose eyes told a story of harsh suffering. This man had lived the same experience, but time had consumed his spirit. Days passed, and Najib's life turned into a nightmare. The cruelty of the sponsor was like a whip that lashed at his soul, and inhumane treatment made him live like a slave, enduring a goat's life, drinking what they drank without bathing. Every morning, his humanity faded a little more, waking to the cries of pain, and every evening, he slept under a sky filled with sand and stars. He spent 3 years in torment, and in a moment of despair, Najib discovered that the elderly worker had passed away, surrounded by vultures waiting for their prey. At that moment, he realized that life was nothing but a chain of suffering, and that he could become another victim in this corrupt system. In one of the encounters, he met his friend Hakim, who was living the same hell, along with Ibrahim, the young African who carried the hope of escape. The journey of escape began, but they faced the horrors of the desert. Thirst consumed them, and the heat burned their bodies. In the end, Hakim fell victim to the heat and thirst, while Ibrahim disappeared in a sandstorm, leaving Najib alone in a struggle with death. After a long ordeal, Najib reached the road exhausted and was on the verge of losing hope. But fate was waiting for him, as a kind person stopped to help him and took him to the city. There, he was rescued by Indian workers in one of the hotels, but his suffering was not over yet. He was taken to the authorities, where he faced the cruelty of a system that treated workers as numbers, not as individuals. When he saw his sponsor, whom he had been searching for, the blood froze in his veins. The sponsor informed him that if he were under his sponsorship, he would have sent him back to the desert. Najib realized that he had been a victim of a tyrannical, enslaving system, where human rights were violated and dreams were stolen. After 3 months in prison, Najib was deported back to India, but his story did not end there. His cries echoed around the world, shedding light on the suffering of thousands of workers living under the oppressive capitalist system, where their rights were violated and their humanity stripped away in a silence that screamed of pain.